Well, okay, are we live?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Good evening. I'm Julia Kukuro. We're doing the Indiana Area School District Personnel Committee meeting for October 11th. Uta Lowry couldn't be with us, so she's asked me to handle the agenda. But tonight for the board policies, Uta will be handling those. Cinda will be handling those. So thank you. Our first item is bond refinancing with Jamie Doyle from PFM, and we'll review results. Do you have any preliminary comments, Jared, on bond refinancing?
My only comments would be how happy we are with the results overall. I think we were projecting at the beginning of the whole process savings of $500,000, and we ended up with 1.3. So, and it's also nice to see the business go into a local bank here within our district as well. So, if you're okay, Madam Vice President, we'll turn it over to Jamie Doyle, and I think Chris Brewer should be here as well. If he's on there to just kind of discuss the results, as they both have been working for the past couple of weeks to put everything together for us.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. Also with me is my colleague, Carly Boyer. And hopefully you all have a hard copy of my presentation, but I would be happy to screen share if you would find that helpful.
I don't think so.
I think we're good, Jamie. I'll post it online as well.
Very good. So if you look at page number 1 of my handout, we continue to hover near all-time low interest rates. But if you look at that lower right-hand corner of that bottom chart, rates have started to trickle upward a little bit. And so that very much played into the timing of your refunding opportunity. As I mentioned before, many times banks historically lag the market a little bit, and that works in your favor in a rising interest rate environment, and it certainly appears to have done that this time. If you look at page number 2, you will see all of the proposals summarized that we received on your refunding opportunity. The winning proposal came from First Commonwealth Bank. They bid a fixed rate of 1.75% fixed through the final maturity, exactly what we asked for. They bid bank fees of $7,500. They agreed to our terms and conditions, the main one being prepayment at any time without penalty, and they did not insert any additional terms or conditions, beyond what we asked for in the RFP process. You will recall this was the dual track process, so then we compared the winning First Commonwealth Bank loan proposal that we received, and we received these proposals. The deadline was September 30th at 11 a.m. So we've had these a little bit, and the bond market, interest rates have continued to trickle upward a few basis points just about every day since then. But at the time, on September 30th, this First Commonwealth proposal was about $60,000 better than the bond market, and that spread has widened even since the September 30th deadline. So we are recommending that you accept the First Commonwealth Bank proposal, which is really summarized on page number 3. In column 6, you'll see, as Jared mentioned, net savings to the school district based on the First Commonwealth proposal came in at $1,309,188. That's a little over $800,000 better than what we had shown you previously. And you remember this opportunity was super sensitive. 0.1% moved the savings needle almost $92,000. So this is definitely a home run. If you start at the top of column 6 and work your way downward, you'll see that the way you'll recognize the savings is spread out over the life, with those savings being a little bit more front-end loaded through and including the current year through and including 2027, I should say. And the reason for that is to smooth down your overall net payments. Before this refunding, you were paying column 3, and as you look down column 3, you can see the high points of about $3.378 million. And now, as you look down column 7, you can see a high point of about $3.27 million. And so, again, very, very successful opportunity. To quickly walk through the mechanics on page 4, there was all of your 2016 bonds if you did nothing. Page 5 is the portion of the 2016 bonds that will refund with this transaction. So the long end, basically, where the interest rates were the highest. Page 6 is the small portion that will leave outstanding. And again, the purpose of that is to stay within the $10 million calendar year limits that the IRS sets for bank qualified interest rates. So you'll continue to make those last couple of payments on page 6. Page 7 just shows how much money we need to pay off the refunded portion of the 2016 bonds, principal and interest. And page 8 is the backup page for the savings. So you see the First Commonwealth in column 3, the 1.75% the whole way down. And as planned, we're not extending the debt at all. We're simply replacing those old higher rates with this 1.75% that you see. Page 9 is the sources and uses of funds. And if you accept the First Commonwealth proposal this evening, settlement would occur on November 17th, as we had planned in the original timeline. And the 1.75% or yield of the issue, that's the rate we'll report to the IRS. Page 10 is your updated debt portfolio. So you notice that in column 3, there are the residual payments on the small unrefunded portion. But most of those payments have gone away, and we've added column 6 to reflect the First Commonwealth Bank proposal that we just went over. Page 11 is just a summary of the high points. I would just point out in the middle of that top box, the 1.3 million in net savings is 13.44% of refunded principal. Remember, the historic benchmark, it's not a rule, it's not a law, it's a benchmark. Is a refunding makes sense if you can save at least 2%, and you're quite a bit through that 2% historic benchmark. I'm happy to report. The rest of the pages just is the First Commonwealth proposal itself on page number 13. There you can see there 1.75%. This was our form of proposal, so they basically just filled in the blanks and agreed to our terms and conditions, as I had mentioned earlier. So I will pause there, but I was very pleased with the dual track process. I'm extremely pleased with the end result. I do recommend that you accept the First Commonwealth proposal. And I would like to thank Jared. He was critical along the way in answering questions and helping to bring us to this very successful conclusion, as were your solicitor and your bond counsel as well. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
I have one thing for Jared. If you wouldn't mind, for the building grounds meeting next Monday night, that bond spreadsheet that we keep with all the different values in it, if you could update that, and we'll just talk about that next Monday night.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And thank you.
So wait a minute, Jared, where's our total? So our total outstanding was going to be 30. What page? I'm getting mixed up with these pages. I haven't looked at this too close. 33,715, is that correct? And now it's going to go down to 32,406 on page 3. Am I reading that right?
On page 3.
Yes. That makes sense. It works mathematically. So I'm looking at column.
That 33.7 million would be our total payments over, until the end of the 6/30/2036 year. So that's not our outstanding principal. That's just our outstanding payments.
Well, that's now, right?
That's
Yeah,
prior
that's
to the
before,
bond,
yeah.
And then
prior to the
column
refinancing.
7
Yes.
is what it will be.
Yes, those are payments after the refinancing, not our outstanding principal or anything.
If you look at page number 10, in the lower right-hand corner, there's a principal outstanding line that may address that question.
Where are you again? I'm on
Page
page 10. What column?
In the lower right-hand corner, there's it's shaded slightly gray if your handout is in color. It says principal outstanding as of October 1, 2021 is $26,859,219.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. Yes.
So the numbers you were looking at on page 3, you're exactly right. Column 3 was before and column 7 is after, but that was principal plus interest minus state reimbursement on some of your other issues.
Okay. Well, it is kind of marvelous. It is kind of marvelous that this has swung our way. Wow. So thank you for all your hard work on this. Any questions that anybody has?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Sam.
I'd like a clarification from Jared, Jamie, anybody. There's a perception in the community that we're in the process of borrowing a new $10 million. Is this completely and totally a refinancing of the debt that we already have from the 2016 bond? Or is there an additional $10 million being borrowed tonight?
No,
No.
this is a. Go ahead, Jamie.
It needs to be made clear to the community. That's,
It's 100% refunding. There is no additional new money included in this refinancing this evening.
okay, say it again, just so everybody hears it. There
No,
is
no new money. All refinancing. All you're doing is lowering the interest rate on debt that you incurred back in 2016.
Okay, thank you. I hear lots of sighs of relief.
Then just one other thing, and we're hardly taking time to celebrate this, but when's our next opportunity to do something like this?
Sure. If you look at page 10 again for a minute, or maybe you're still on page 10, you can see the call dates near the bottom line, close to the bottom of the page. So your next opportunity would be on your 2017s, most likely. They're callable September 1 of 2023. And you can see that's a relatively short issue, but if interest rates stay in the range we're currently seeing, I would imagine that will have some opportunity associated with it.
Anything else, Walter?
Okay, thank you, Jamie.
No, I'm good.
You're welcome.
I have a question. So somebody asked me today, and I didn't know the answer. Is there penalties for paying any of these off early?
So still on page 10, that call date line near the bottom, if there's a date there, it's that's the date to which you've promised the bondholders they get to hold the bond. So you can't pay them off early on a tax exempt basis. Once we get to that date, there's no penalty. These are all callable at par. There's no premium associated with paying them off. We just have to wait till we get to the date outlined there.
So the key language then is that tax exempt status is why you have to wait to the call date.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But Jamie, this is Walter. For the series 2017, that would apply, correct?
Correct.
But for this series 2021 that we're going to, does it not basically say anytime?
Yes, because these are bank loans, so they don't have a call date like a bond issue does. So yes, anytime that you want, they're prepayable with no penalty. So, if interest rates drop next year and it made sense to refund them, we could do that.
Okay.
But if they go up, we're okay.
Right. No one can take these rates away from you. It's your option and your option alone.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, this is all good. Thank you. It's great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you,
You're
Jamie.
welcome.
Okay, the next item so I think this is it for this review results voting at the regular meeting. So we have a motion tonight to accept the first Commonwealth offer. Previously discussed multiple times, need to finalize this evening. Okay, so we're done with this. Correct?
Yep, we are done with this item.
So policy number 006, local board procedures, and policy number 903, public participation. Jared, or I don't know who's going to handle these, Rob or whoever's.
Item 2 on the
Or-
agenda.
The board policy.
Yeah, the board policy is the public participation policy. It's simply updating the policies to reflect the changes to Robert's Rules of Order, which are updated from time to time. just to make sure that they're up to date and we're following the most current versions. It also is a change to the Sunshine Act that says that once an agenda is set, you cannot make any changes or additions to the agenda within 24 hours of the meeting date. So that's really, we have to have it posted prior to 24 hours prior, and at that, once it's posted, you cannot add anything to the agenda. There will be no more making addendums at the last minute. We're kind of, they've changed that or removed that. We have to place it on the district's website and including all items that on which deliberation or official action can or may take place.
Rob, I understand as far as adding something to it, but is there any restriction on pulling something from the agenda within 24 hours that you choose not to take any action on at that meeting?
No, there is fact. We actually had to do that this evening. There's no rule about taking something off. There's only rules about adding things to it. So this evening we decided we had to take something off and act on it at a later date. And we checked with Mr. Repack, and we are within our rights to do so under this new law.
Rob, this is Tom Harley. Does it affect our ability to make amendments or to change the nature of the motion?
I believe that you're still allowed to change the notion or the nature of the motion as long as it is on the agenda, and then you follow through the Robert's Rules of Order to amend the motion in the committee or with the board. Nothing that has changed.
Okay. Our past practice has been to publish an agenda with blanks for personnel issues, personnel hiring. Does this affect that policy?
Not that I'm aware of, sir. I think we can still leave the blanks as long as the public is aware that we do plan to fill that position at the scheduled board meeting at least 24 hours in advance.
Okay, so the current way that we're handling hires would remain in effect.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions about the changes? And this is simply something we have to do to get into better alignment with the new Sunshine Act that, we have to.
The law went into effect in late August.
Correct.
I just want to say this to clarify things. This only pertains to board meeting agendas, not committee meeting agendas.
That's correct. Only the board, anything that you would be voting on or could take official action on. A committee meetings would still follow the same rules. We could add things or, things could be brought up that evening, that were pertinent to that group. Yes, ma'am.
Are there any differentiations between special board meetings versus regular meetings?
There's nothing in the law. A special meeting is we still have to post that agenda 24 hours in advance. And once it's posted, you can't add anything to it. Any other questions?
I'll get down to the important thing. I found one typo
Oh, okay.
in policy 006, which I'll tell you about after the meeting.
Yes, ma'am. I'd appreciate that so we can get it right.
Anything else? Tammy? You have anything?
Okay.
Okay, so there's nothing, is there anything on the agenda tonight? Our agenda on the.
Julia.
This is first reading of the policy.
Julia, since this agenda is going to be kind of locked in stone, one of the things that I think that needs to be addressed with the board is Anise usually calls for agenda items that need to be included in the agenda. And if we're going to stick to this policy, which apparently we have to do, it's going to mean that the board's going to have to be maybe a little more disciplined, as well as the administration, on making sure that when the agenda is set, we have everything on the agenda that we want, and that we can't add anything at the last minute. Okay, so I just need the board to be aware that it is going to tie our hands to some extent. Not that it's a bad thing, but we just won't be able to be as to freely change what we're doing at a board meeting.
So is this going to take care of the situation where we come to the meeting, something has changed, there's an addendum, and it's going to take away the ability to do addenda?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Because that's always confusing. You have to stop in the middle and have public comment on an item that was added that nobody knew about. So if it's an emergency situation though, I mean, is there some, I don't think I read any, is there any way to get around that if it's an emergency?
I didn't read anything that gets you the flexibility to get around that. I believe you would have to call an emergency board meeting 24 hours later and post a new agenda if
I
there's
see.
something
Okay.
like that. Unless you saw anything different, Jared, I didn't see anything that gave us the flexibility to add addendums.
Just having some casual conversations with a niece, I believe there are possibly 1 or 2 emergency exceptions to adding something on, but I don't know that off,
And I don't
exactly what
remember
they are.
the things that we've added on. I just know that occasionally there's something added on and we have public comment in the middle of the meeting. I don't even remember what types of things they were. But
I think there's certain things under this you cannot add on, possibly under emergency exceptions, but there are also things that you, under no circumstances, can add on. You cannot consider, like, I believe, a contract an emergency item,
right.
meaning in a contract with an outside company or something like that. So
Even if somebody were to pass away, I wonder if that's going to be
Oh.
included. Well, we can look.
Yeah, I can look into the emergency situations, what would constitute emergency and what would not.
Cinda, although it's going to make our normal operations a little more constricted, I'm suspicious, and as long as I've chaired the board, I've never seen this happen, but I've seen it happen at other times when I was on the board, where a motion would either come from the floor that was pre-planned, or even one coming from the board chair, without the rest of the board knowing what was going to that motion was going to be rolled out that particular night. And I suspect, but don't know for a fact, that that's probably why this has happened, is there's been too much of that, shall I say, skullduggerous machinations to ambush type
motions.
stuff,
Yeah.
that it kind of puts a stop to that, not only ambushing fellow board members, but probably more importantly, ambushing the public where they don't know about it. And I know we kind of had something similar to this during the junior high renovation, and that's going back now almost 20 years, but it was one of those things where nobody really understood what was going on until the last minute.
But this, Barbara just said something, this does not in any way tie our hands to amending a motion, does it?
No, you can amend the motion,
Adding
absolutely.
a
If you,
total new motion.
that's my understanding. My understanding is you can amend it through the typical rules of order, and the parliamentary procedures that we've always followed will still allow you to amend the motions on the floor. However, you won't be able to add something unless, I'm looking for the emergencies that would qualify. You know something?
It says that there are some exceptions, and the exception would be for emergency business. It says a public agency may take official action at a meeting on a matter of agency business relating to a real or potential emergency involving a clear and present danger to life or property, regardless of whether public notice was given for the meeting. And that's all that's stated on there.
That's nice and broad. Yeah, well, allow some wiggle room.
Sure.
Anything else on policy 006 or 903? Okay. I guess we'll move to our non-agenda items, deliberation, annual notice.
We are, if you may, we are required to every year give the public notice of all of our policies. We are putting a list together that we will post on our website and keep it updated as goes, and that will satisfy that requirement. for us to have notice. The public will always have access to that, and we'll just update it as we move forward.
Could I just make one more note? It does say also that for business arising within 24 hours prior to the meeting, a public agency may take official action on a matter of agency business that is not listed on the agenda if the matter arises or is brought to the attention of the public agency within 24 hours prior to the meeting, and the matter is de minimis in nature and does not involve expenditure of funds or entering into a contract or agreement by the public agency.
But still, that's separate from the clear and present danger test.
Yes, ma'am.
So we were talking, but thank you, that's very helpful. So are you addressing A, B, and C on this agenda item?
Yeah, but A, B, and C will is basically as presented. We're required by law to present all of the policies to our families. We have a list that we have attached to the agenda that has all of the policies listed. We are going to post that on our website, and we also send that out to families, I believe on or about Tuesday, so that everyone is official notice, and then that will satisfy that document that will be living and breathing on our website will satisfy that requirement. Send through our Bright Arrow system that with the links to the policies. So every family would receive an email that says, click here for this, or go to the website to see this page.
I have a minor correction on that one for you too,
Yes, ma'am.
afterwards.
Okay.
It's
Thank
just-
you.
It's just a link that needs to be fixed.
Okay.
Okay, anything else for the good of the order?
No, ma'am.
It's 5:58.
Well done.
Nice, sweet meeting. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
For